Hey guys, so back again here on the Python Backend Stacks Playground. Well, actually, what we're doing now is doing things for vibe coding Open-FDD, but this vibe coding processes will go in the Python Backend Stacks Playground, and yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm almost tempted to port some of these ideas back into Open-FDD, where at the moment I have been doing everything in Rust and then TypeScript and very little Python. There's no Python at all, but um, yeah, if this goes smoothly, these processes that I'm doing in Rust is actually going so slow that having some AI agent maintain all of the code, all of the dashboards, if it works good, it might just be the way of the future. I don't know. But it's been kind of fun. So, okay, so like if you're just joining us now, this is the Open-FDD stack here. And what we're looking at is these online documentation where we have the expression rule cookbook and there's expression rules. This is the Rust version, the future Rust engine built in Rust. That'll be SQL. And then the only thing like we're looking at now is Pandas computing library. So we talked about this earlier. Pandas is a Python analyst framework. It's really good for working with tabular data. It's literally part of every modern data science project out there, including like data science competitions. Pandas is always usually wrangling the data, manipulating the data, doing feature engineering in machine learning projects, and also uh, it's not the math libraries itself. It's usually like a library to help build the feature engineer, like the training data sets that machine learning competitions use. So, and it works really good for uh, rule-based fault detection equations too. So like basically we've been feeding in this expression rule cookbook into AI, and these are all different. These are things that the AI agents can use for context. And then also we looked at this prior, but if you're just joining us now, this may have not been. Um, let's see, where is this? So this may have not been in there, but like we use ChatGPT to do deep research on everything it knows on the internet for fault detection purposes. So it's all baked in here. Then we've been kind of looking at some of the rules too and seeing how they apply to this building, which is this test building is CSV data from some sort of a data lake. So we have this, what I didn't show you yet is like I'm using Python scripts made by AI, made by Cursor to retrieve the data and then put it into Python pandas format. And then from there, we're building the web dashboard with the Flask library. That's that's been a backend web framework in Python that's been around for 15 years, I bet, or more. So it's like yeah, very lightweight backend, and then we can really prototype some dashboards with speed. And AI is tasked at maintaining all of the HTML, and we're kind of feeding in all these rules and kind of telling it what we want. So I have a feeling this next go around will be us, purely making it revised charts, because some of the charts that it's making are kind of they don't make any sense. There, we have to just more than likely dumb it down to something that does make sense. Um, and then so this work is on Python Backnet X Playground, and it's now part of Vibecode App 19. And then what we have been doing all along this way is there is an agents markdown file. So we talked about this last time, and this is basically we're building a um, agentic AI software engineering specification. So like the idea is that someone can uh, basically what you'd want to do is if you're just want to play around with this, if you're a HVAC person or a technician or something, you can just link Vibecode app 19 right to Claude or Cursor or whatever, and it should know just like what to do. Okay, so that's kind of the meat and potatoes of it. Is we're building something that can be easily replicable, repeatable, whatever. You can replicate it with ease on different data sets. And something that I'm also doing in here too is, let me just get this developer console open. I can't remember if this is the latest and greatest. So I'm also building in Haystack to this too. Okay, let's just get this back over. This is my working instance of Cursor. To get you back up and running. Okay, so I'm just running this local host, and this web app would be powerful enough to put on the internet. And like what I am just doing is it's just a read-only dashboard. So I'm not too worried about, advanced cybersecurity. There's just like a little bit of, we can build logins and all that stuff too. That's pretty easy. So this is video 6. I have a feeling this could go into a few more videos because I have been building some more complexity into this, including the data modeling part, which I wasn't going to do, but I actually just kind of decided, what the heck, why not? I actually have the old version of Open-FDD version 2, which used the Python, the data modeling library in Python called RDF for Resource Description Framework. That's what all of the data modeling is built off of. It's a framework for data modeling. And I just ported that right over into this project from an old version of Open-FDD. And AI was able to just kind of spin it right up. Okay, so the web app is loading really slow. I don't know why it's loading so slow. Just get the console open one more time. Say web app loads extremely slow, if at all. Hmm. I think like what this Flask app is doing is it's just loading a boatload of data. Right from the get-go. Might just be like processing a ton of data right when it loads. So let's just see what Cursor has to do. Investigating what's blocking, identifying bottlenecks, synchronous CSV file loading, single-threaded Flask application, and a blocking Haystack bootstrap. All right. Looks like AI is optimizing the code base here. Did think about a few other things too. Seems like every time I leave and I come back, my mind usually thinks about a few other things too while I'm away from the keyboard. So these are a few other ideas too. Took some notes down. this is from guideline 36. If less than 5-minute data is is in the frequency of the data sets, let's do a rolling average in 5 minutes via pandas library. Else, no rolling average. See if that finished. Looks like it's still waiting. Okay, so what else did I say? Make sure agentic AI spec has good description of how AI to handle input of data for and as data frames, whether so this should be whether future users will vibe their own application from Feather data source, that's Apache Feather data source, or SQL, or CSV, or bring a pandas data frame from other data sources. Okay, then I also thought about it, instead of this Python anywhere idea is, because already like the files are too big for the free Python anywhere account, let's do Docker instead. And then let's also retrofit the Python anywhere zipping process for a generic Docker file. Delete out all Python anywhere info like it never existed, and just use generic Docker file, which we can test later. So the neat thing about Docker is like the client could have an IT department that could just spin up a Linux virtual machine. You can do this on Windows too with Docker desktop. And it's really easy to build a Docker image, and it's just like a really fast way to bootstrap an application. Is you could ship little code bases like this to the IT department, and then give the IT department just a few commands that run in Docker, and poof, your web app comes up. And there's also some really neat things in Docker too that makes it easy to, if the application ever reboots or the computer reboots, that Docker automatically reloads the application. Docker is a really cool tool. I highly recommend getting familiar with using it. It looks like this guy is still sleeping. I have a feeling we'll spend the rest of the day just going through charts and just, like get rid of these charts. They don't make any sense. So I'm just going to queue this prompt, and then the AI agent will, start wrangling that as soon as it's done. Looks like it's still troubleshooting how to optimize our Flask application. Looks like it's using some kind of a socket. Anyways, maybe while that's still working, we could look at some PDFs or something. Load So this might take a little while to troubleshoot, which is common if you're playing around with this kind of web app stuff. So this is guideline 36. This is kind of what we've been doing most of our equations with on the expression rule cookbook. The original part of Open-FDD was based off of guideline 36. This is 2021 version, I think. So like, just simple rule-based equations. It's basically, it's glorified building automation and learning. It's just much more complicated equations that are better if you're using like computer science patterns, like a scripting language, rather than doing this in Workbench with like little ladder logic. It'd be really hard. Okay, so these are all the descriptions of the faults, these little error. So like one thing we're building into the front end here is the ability to tune some of these fault parameters. So all of these equations that have like a little, that's a delta for time, temperature rise across the supply fan. So 2 degrees, that's a tunable parameter for the fault. Delta, minimum difference between outside air and returner temp to evaluate economizer air conditions for fault condition 6. Temperature rise air threshold for supplier temp sensors. So 1 degree metric and 2 degrees Fahrenheit. So these will be adjustable widgets that we can tune faults with on our dashboard. At least that's what I'm going for. Looks like this is fault condition 4. Maximum number of like an air handling unit operating state changes during the previous 60 minutes, 7. So like that seems like an awful lot to me. So basically what we were talking about earlier, like if an air handling unit is in a cooling mode, going to heating, and then back to economizing, and then back to mechanical cooling and economizing, and then back to cooling, those are state changes. It's ultimately PID hunting that's causing that. 7 of them in an hour seems like an awful lot to me. But these are tunable things that it'd be really cool to build a dashboard that you can tune these features. Then if you're the analyst, you then dial in your dashboard to the way you want it and then lock it in is what I'm hoping to do. It sounds kind of weird, but like there's so much data, you need to make it usable. You need to take notes somehow, that you think this is right or wrong, and then kind of lock in those tuning parameters. I'm shooting for that at least. It seems to me like in any prior retro commissioning work experience, when I'm making charts and I have to describe how the air handling unit operates over time, or the HVAC system in general, there's always some kind of a caption that for a retro commission report that you have to describe. Fan has maintained, blah, blah, blah. Fan starts and stops and does, something. You have to have some kind of a chat, input thing. Would be really neat if AI could do all of that. Maybe it can. I wouldn't trust it by just shipping something out that AI makes turnkey, because it's just, as you can see, like these charts that it's making most of it is garbage. Like you have to dumb it down, get rid of this. So I think like we'll spend the rest of hour 6 just, I guarantee, dumbing it down. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense. So, okay. So one thing I wanted to show you in this too, so these are all the fault equations by guideline 36 for our air handling unit. Where is it in here? It says something like if the data, this is guideline 36 algorithm here for trim and respond. I must have been all the way through the spec. Oh, the good old-fashioned guideline 36 documents are not easy to navigate. Somewhere in here it said something about data and rolling averages. I just wanted to find that. Where is it? I'm in minutes. I know it says somewhere in here, like that ASHRAE guideline 36 recommends 1 minute samples, which is very rare. I I've only seen 1 minute sampling in research, like where I used to work for a research company, and then we would do guideline 36 research, and then there we would take 1 minute samples on all of the trends, enormous data sets. And then usually I think what people do in the industry is 5 minute intervals. It does not create enormous data sets, big data sets, but there's useful content in there. But I like 5 minute data. 1 minute is cool too, if you can get away with it. Okay, so here we go. This is what it says right here. So 5 minute rolling averages with 1 minute sample time of the following point. Operator shall have the ability to adjust average window and sampling period for each point independently. So like what I sent to Cursor is it'll create some code in Python that if the so it's still in the pandas computing library, you can measure the frequency of data. Let me see if we can look at an example. It does not look like I have a good timestamp. So I guess you can see that right here. Like here's one timestamp, here's another timestamp. So this is 15-minute data, which is, it's barely the cutoff to get some use. We're still making a useful report out of this, but you could be missing something in between that window of 15 minutes, where 5 minutes is kind of that perfect middle area. And then, so basically, the pandas computing library can measure these time deltas between each row of the data. And then you can put if and else logic in there. Like, so like if, let's just read this. Just say if data sets timestamp measured frequency by pandas for each row is less than 5 minutes in the frequency of the data sets. Let's do a rolling average. We should check and see like this. Okay, so 5 minute rolling averages with 1 minute. Okay, so like this is worded kind of funny, but AI doesn't really care. It'll get the gist of it. If the data set's timestamps measure frequency by pandas for each row is less than 5 minutes, a minute, something, or even less, let's do a 5 minute rolling average. Inside the pandas library, inside pandas as resampling. Else no rolling average if the stamps frequency is greater 5. Okay, so I think that makes sense. Looks like it's like the AI agents are still optimizing how to load the Flask application. There's some kind of bottlenecks in there in like loading all of the data. So we can get the fastest, latest, and greatest way of doing it, which is a really cool task for AI to figure out. And what else could we talk about in the meantime? So this will take a little while for the AI to crunch these numbers. Think of anything worth talking about, or else maybe we'll just have to call it a day. on this one. I was hoping it would go fast enough that I would be able to walk through being able to, maybe I have this. Okay, so maybe we could just kind of look like, whoa, look like this. Maybe it's still building something. So basically what I'm going with all of this is like, there's going to be a data model tab, all these different analyses for different kinds of systems. And then what I'm shooting for is everything to be kind of data model driven. So like there would be a haystack model running here. And then we're using external time series references. So like the data model references the CSV files basically that we load into the rules rather than hard coding all of the everything together, which still may be the easiest way to go. We're still exploring. I don't know, but like it seems like everyone wants a data model these days. So I'm trying to make this dashboard very data model driven, where like you just point the application to where the data lives. It can be SQL, other different formats. I'm using CSV format. Load all that data in, and then the AI will make the data model, and then everything on here will be data model driven. So I want it to be like if you have a building full of heat pumps and dedicated outside air units, that there wouldn't be air handling unit tab visible at all, or free cooling or economizer diagnostics. There wouldn't be a central plant. So basically, if the data model doesn't show that kind of system present in the data, you can just kind of skip right over that in the dashboard. That's what I'm shooting for. So it might take a little while for it to build this. And then the ability to tune fault rules right here and with some kind of a slider widget. So this will be, we'll be able to play around with this. This is all built in JavaScript behind the scenes. Just plain vanilla JavaScript. I just tasked the AI agent to use whatever it wants to use because it's going to be the one maintaining it. I don't care. Seems to be the way that other AI YouTubers are doing things these days is their dashboards. They're just having, thank God I'm not maintaining that HTML. So like we're going to do that too. And I've played around with it enough that I think it'll work out just fine. As soon as Cursor gets off its lazy butt and starts making our application. Wow. Okay. So maybe this is just going a little bit slower. So maybe I'll just end it today, guys. And we'll pick this back up tomorrow. So I guarantee this will be something cool and useful, and people can vibe it into whatever they want. So that'll be like the whole point of these exercises is we'll be able to just you can morph it into whatever you want. So like where I'm going with this is if you want to make it pink, purple, flying unicorns and clouds, like, or the Sanford, some football team theme or something. Ooh, we have some data populated here. So it looks like the web app is building things. So I'll probably be pushing it a little bit more, and then yeah, trying to think if it's worth doing anything else at the moment. I kind of don't think so because everything is still kind of under construction by the AI agent. Maybe I'll just touch bases on this a little bit, but in Python, BACnet sets BACnet stacks playground. What I want to get into ASAP, someone asked me to do a video on the Rust BACnet stack for how to get up and off the ground in Python. So once again, like this is the new Rust BACnet stack by Justin, and it's not backpipes or back zero. There's actually a Rust library running behind the scenes here. Very little bit of Python, just only a little bit of only just a little bit of it's like a wrapper basically for it to interact with. And there's even like a model context server. So like look for something coming soon from me that'll be using the Rust BACnet stack, and then how to basically what we want to do is use the model context server and see how fast the AI agent can recreate what we did in backpipes and back zero. We did things for BACnet read write, read range, read multiple. We even did a schedule object. We did point discovering, who is, I am. So like we'll play around with model context server to see how fast we can replicate that in the Python version of Rusty BACnet. So that's coming soon. And then something that I also want to do too is join the Discord. I have this this Linux Foundation. It's a let me just click on this. So I've been talking a little bit about there's a Linux Foundation. This is a certification of like how to get really good with Linux. Some kind of labs that we'll be doing. How to do getting really familiar with Linux, and then also I want to start doing these. Maybe we should just look at one of these real quick. So this is just how to get set up on a Raspberry Pi without using any of the GUI interface. It's all SSH. So let's start playing around with this. There's holes in my knowledge gap where I need to get really good at the Linux command prompt. I wouldn't mind doing this certificate in Linux. This is the certified Linux systems administrator. That's what I'm after. And then in here, like doing starting over from day scratch, we have 75 days of mini challenges in Rust and Python. So day one, I think we did up to day 28 in Python, and then I'm going to start over and do everything from in Rust now because I want to learn Rust and specifically get into network programming, which we briefly talked about. It's like how people make network stacks in Rust. Rust is a really good language for this. So there's zero to hero kind of approach, 75 days worth of lessons. I want to start over, do the Rust version of it, and there's a Python version too. So yeah, this should be pretty cool. So there's just so much content coming. Lots of good stuff. If you're a technical person, I love this kind of world. And I will probably see you guys tomorrow, and we can do some more vibe coding on our HVAC dashboard. Until then, feel free to look me up on LinkedIn or Discord. Looking for work too. I'm also a freelance person looking for some work, so feel free to I'm available basically to help you out if you have any questions or your team needs assistance in getting some work done. I am available. So talk to you later. Have a great day.